Hi everybody, it's Tuesday, April 21st, 2009. The people in Gaza are still under siege. They're still starving. Thanks for stopping by. Once Martin Luther King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." He knew exactly what he was talking about. He was absolutely right. I'll come back to this a little bit later. Now, the United States and 8 other, mostly European nations, United States, Israel, Canada, Australia, and a few European countries have boycotted the Durban Conference against racism. Now, the reason that they give for this is that they claim that the conference is singling out Israel for abuse, that they are saying antisemitic things, that the conference against racism is actually racist itself because of what they have in their draft resolution. And also because they reaffirm what the 2001 conference said. When President Ahmadinejad from Iran got up to speak, a lot of the countries stormed out, or the 8 countries that I mentioned before, they stormed out. And I saw on Democracy Now! Amy Goodman talking to one of the people who worked at the event, and she said something rather surprising to me. She said that this was all just a hoax, that there was no contentious language in the Durban Declaration or in the 2001 Declaration from South Africa, that this was all just a big lie. It had, she said, no basis in fact. Now that's a pretty stunning statement. That's something that I didn't really expect to hear. So, it turns out that I just happened to be on the Haaretz website later on that day, yesterday, and I saw some coverage of this event. Now Haaretz is a respected newspaper in Israel. They carry a lot of different viewpoints, pro and anti-occupation, and this article is very much against the Durban Conference. They say dozens of Western representatives at the UN-sponsored Durban II conference against racism walked out during Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's address. They say that he launched a tirade against Israel. And the reason why they say he launched a tirade was that he said Israel was a racist country. Now, that's not really a tirade, that's a simple statement. Moreover, it's a very elementary statement, which is, quite easily demonstrable. It's quite easy to prove that statement is true. I mean, just look at the way that Israel is set up. Israel is, it claims to be not the state of its citizens, but the state of the Jewish people, wherever they are. So it makes no difference whether you live within the confines of this country. The only thing that matters is your ethnicity. Now that's racist, okay? Now I defy anyone to tell me that's not racism. It's just, it would be ridiculous to even claim that there's equality there or that there's no racism there. But that's the reason why all these dozens of representatives stormed out, because Ahmadinejad had the audacity to state that plain and obvious fact. And this article says some things that aren't true, actually, too. It says that he has called on multiple times to destroy Israel. Well, that's just not true. That's that is a deliberate mistranslation of his words. And I watched the entire debate, the entire interview, and what he said was, this regime must change. We must change this regime in Israel. Not that we must destroy it, but it must change. And he said the solution clearly is democracy. Now, why do we have such a problem with that? Why are we living in a country where we ostracize and demonize and threat to annihilate a country because its leaders said that the solution to this conflict is democracy? I want you to think about that. Why are we such enemies of democracy? Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Think about the connection there, okay? Think about how this stuff creeps across borders. Now, I went to they had a link to the contentious parts of the draft documents. So I went to their link to see what was so bad about these draft documents and how anti-Semitic they were. And here's what they say. Paragraph 1 reaffirms the Durban Declaration and Program of Action as it was adopted at the World Conference Against Racism, Racial Discrimination, Xenophobia, and Related Intolerance. Reaffirms that any advocacy of national, racial, or religious hatred that constitutes incitement to discrimination, hostility, or violence shall be prohibited by law. Reaffirms further that all dissemination of ideas based on racial superiority or hatred, incitement to racial discrimination, as well as all acts of violence or incitement to such acts shall be declared offence punishable by law in accordance with the international obligations of states, that these prohibitions are consistent with freedom of opinion and expression. That's from the Durban Declaration. Okay, that's from this year's declaration. It's basically saying, we should discourage racial discrimination. Now here's the Durban Declaration and Program of Action of 2001 that it refers to. Paragraph 58, we recall that the Holocaust must never be forgotten. Paragraph 61, we recognize with deep concern the increase in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia in various parts of the world, as well as the emergence of racial and violent movements based on racism and discriminatory ideas about Jewish, Muslim, and Arab communities. Paragraph 63, we are concerned about the plight of the Palestinian people under foreign occupation. We recognize the inalienable right of the Palestinian people to self-determination and to the establishment of an independent state, and we recognize the right to security for all states in the region, including Israel, and call upon all states to support the peace process and bring it to an early conclusion. As an aside, Israel supposedly supports the two-state solution. Yet, to them, this is offensive. Paragraph 64. We call for a just and comprehensive and lasting peace in the region in which all peoples can coexist and enjoy equality, justice, and internationally recognized human rights and security. Paragraph 150. The World Conference Against Racism, Racial Discrimination, Xenophobia, and Related Intolerance calls upon states in opposing all forms of racism to recognize the need to counter anti-Semitism, anti-Arabism, and Islamophobia worldwide, and urges all states to take effective measures to prevent the emergence of movements based on racism and discriminatory ideas concerning these communities. And finally, paragraph 151, as for the situation in the Middle East, calls for the end of violence and the swift resumption of negotiations, respect for international human rights and humanitarian law, respect for the principle of self-determination, and the end of all suffering, thus allowing Israel and the Palestinians to resume the peace process and to develop and prosper in security and freedom. That is the language that Israel and the Obama administration could not allow to be spoken in public. That is the reason why we are boycotting this conference, because it calls for an end to racial discrimination against Jews, Muslims, and Arabs. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? What the hell is going on in this world? Thanks for watching.